Good morning. I thought this was going to be the final playing test of the 66 Bassman. I spoke to the owner, and he decided to keep it AB165, at least for now, if in the process of using it in the studio that background noise becomes problematic. We'll revisit the AA864 output section change. In the process of setting this up for this video, however, I discovered that the standby switch has become intermittent, and so a new carling will be going in place there. Other than that, the amp is sounding quite good, and it's a really nice, versatile amp, and I thought I'd give you some playing examples. Now, the normal channel on this amp is pretty much the same as the normal channel on a Pro or a Super or a Vibrolux, except it has more gain, has an additional gain stage. Each of these channels goes through an additional gain stage, and this thing can really get snarly. So I've got the volume here just above 2. I've got the treble and bass halfway up, and if I play softly, I have a beautiful Fender clean. And you can set the controls differently for different coloration. I'm not going to tell you how a Fender works, just to show that the same setting where I can get a really nice or you can also just dig in a little bit more, maybe go to the bridge pickup and get so it's right there on the edge. It's got that hint of a kerrang to it, even at 2. If I go up to 3.5, that's because I'm sitting with the pickups close to the transformers. But even there, if I back off on my volumes, so you can quickly see why someone would love this amp. It's very versatile. No, it doesn't have tremolo. No, it doesn't have reverb. But since 1966, there have been these things called effects pedals. You might have heard of them, and you can use them with these, believe it or not. And even at that level of gain, you can still use a delay pedal with this, and it's not going to get out of control. I'm not going to show the full brutal range of gain on this, but for just a second, because I don't want to have to reset my mic pre's. That's also hard on the ears this close to the amp. So that's as much of that as we're going to do right now. But let's go to the bass channel with the guitar. So deep switch off, volume at 3, treble and bass midway again, and we have now it's an overall darker sounding channel, both by the overall circuit changes and the fact that they are dumping a lot of the highs through a snubber cap on the bass channel. It's got a real throaty character. Wasn't designed for guitar, but there's no reason you can't use guitar through it. And you can turn the treble up. Here I've got it dimed. And it doesn't make the amp bright like you would if you turned the treble on this channel all the way up. It's bringing really upper mids. All the real high stuff, probably above 2K or so, is being rolled off fairly drastically by that snubber cap in here. So if you turn the bass down and the treble up, I think 10's a little extreme, but let's go like to 8. and then turn the volume up, you get a real punchy mid-range forward sound. And then pardon my sloppy Aerosmithing there. I'm still on my first cup of coffee, and my hands are all stiff. Some of you know what I'm talking about when you wake up in the morning and your hands are all stiff. It used to be other bits. Anyway, let me change to the Strat for a little bit. All right, I'm pretty much where we started, just over 2 noon. These pickups have a lot less output than the SG, so you get the... You turn on the bright switch if you want over the top. Of course, if you do that, you just roll the treble down to compensate. You still get that sparkle, you just don't get the ow. My preference is to keep the bright switch off unless you're doing a special effect, and just turn the treble up a little bit to compensate. And as always, if you turn it up, now, like I said, my hands are all stiff and uncooperative, so I'm not going to subject you to my playing at high volume on this. That taste will let you know what you would sound like through this. You know, for everyone out there, it's funny, I see all this... people talking about Texas that and Texas this, and you know, there was some video I saw this morning over my first cup of coffee. It was showing how to get Austin sounds, authentic Austin sounds out of a Hot Rod Deluxe, and the settings that they suggest were kind of insane, especially since they use the high gain mode of the Hot Rod for that. You get an old Bassman and you turn that to 7. There's your Austin sound, one of these and one of those. Some guy with an old Strat into an old pawn shop Fender turned up who plays his ass off. The only part that's missing here is the guy playing his ass off. Anyway, before the video ends, since this is a Bassman, let's run some bass through it. All right, bass channel, deep off, volume at 3, treble and bass halfway up, P bass, finger style. Got a little bit of a nail happening, which is not great for this, but let's bring the bass up a little bit and the treble down a little bit, not exaggerated. That's a real nice sound, and how people use this today for bass is they'll have a DI for the fundamental, and then they'll set an amp like this just to get some air, and they blend it in together. In fact, you can experiment with having like a little more treble on the amp, just to give that air and sense of space a little bit more definition. Let's go back to flat, and sorry, this non-standard knob is hard to read, and go to the deep switch. So without the deep switch, pick. Sorry, I don't play bass with a pick very often. All right, so that's the bass channel, but bass also sounds good through the normal channel, and this goes for almost every 60s and 70s Fender. If you look at the much beloved Alembic FX1 bass preamp, it is actually the normal channel of a Fender AB763, not the reverb channel, but the normal channel, and that's what you have here. So this is going to be a much more neutral, natural sound. Remember that the AB165 has a lot more gain than the other Fenders, so. Well, thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go get another cup of coffee and try to work the stiffness out of my hands and get the reverb working in that old Ampeg Gemini. It's a day of old, wonderful amps. Hopefully the Gemini will be doing its final playing test soon as well.